doing to fill the time.
But first, Georgia's confirmed number of coronavirus patients rapidly increasing. Good afternoon. I'm Sean Gables.
And I'm Brittany Miller in for Rick Folbaum today. Georgia now has 420 confirmed cases and 13 deaths. This time yesterday, we had 287 cases and 10 were dead. Fulton County continues to lead the way with 79 confirmed cases. Cobb, Bartow, Daugherty and DeKalb counties round out the top 5. The makeup of confirmed cases among men and women is tied at 49%.
Nationwide, more than 16,000 people are infected. New York State continues to have the largest number of patients with more than 5,700. Because of that, Governor Andrew Cuomo issued an executive order forcing all non-essential workers to stay home.
On the businesses, on the valve, we reduced it to 50% of the workforce. We then reduced it to 75% of the workforce must stay home, and today we're bringing it to 100% of the workforce must stay home. These are non-essential services. Essential services have to continue to function.
Governor Cuomo's order goes into effect Sunday night indefinitely. Similar orders will be enforced in California and Illinois.
Worldwide, more than 250,000 people are now infected with the coronavirus. The majority of cases are in China and Italy. Combined, they have at least 122,000 cases. The United States and Mexico now working together to prevent further infections. Today, President Trump and Mexico's foreign secretary agreed to shut down recreational and tourist travel between the neighboring nations. There is no ban on people traveling for work, but those restrictions go into effect at midnight. Earlier this week, the U.S. made a similar deal with Canada.
The number of confirmed cases could increase. A plane load of quarantined Americans arrived this morning at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. We have learned they were all passengers aboard an Italian cruise ship that's potentially tainted by the coronavirus. CBS 46's Rebecca Schramm was the first reporter on the scene.
When we first arrived here at the North Cargo area of the airport, we saw some Atlanta firefighters suiting up. Well, it didn't take us long to figure out what was happening. Look at what we saw next. Passengers wearing masks coming off the plane. A source familiar with this operation tells CBS 46 there were more than 200 Americans on the plane. It's a Neos Airlines plane that arrived from Marseille, France. We're learning they were all passengers on a cruise ship called Costa Luminosa. It's from the Italian cruise line Costa Cruises. We watched them get onto a couple of buses. Some were waving to us as they rode past. No doubt they are glad to be back on American soil. Other sources telling us the passengers had not been fed since noon yesterday. We're getting reports that some of the people on board that plane were showing symptoms of COVID-19, the disease caused by the coronavirus. We understand the CDC is leading the screening process for these passengers. The question is whether any of them will be allowed to board another flight to their final destination back home here in the States, or if they instead will all be quarantined here in Atlanta until enough time has passed that they won't potentially spread the virus to others. Taking another look, this is the plane that carried those passengers. Again, we're learning more than 200 Americans are now back on U.S. soil after being on yet another cruise ship that potentially was tainted by the coronavirus. As for what happens next, we will certainly keep you posted. At Hartsfield-Jackson, Rebecca Schramm, CBS 46 News.
Testing potential coronavirus patients is expanding across the country now. Today, drive-through testing sites were set up all across South Florida. You can see long lines of cars just full of people waiting to get tested. According to Governor Ron DeSantis, the testing sites are for drive-up only. The people who are being tested today should get their results in about 3 to 5 days. The state of Georgia says it would hope to have testing capabilities ramped up by the end of this week.
Today, they tell us it will probably be this weekend before they can test 200 people a day. CBS 46's Haley Mason has a look at coronavirus testing by the state.
Right now, the availability of tests and testing capacity has been a top concern for people who are sick. The state lab can only test 100 specimens a day. Jonathan Santana tells me he's been sick since last Thursday. He could barely talk, but insisted on telling me his story. He says he was diagnosed with bronchitis, but he says he has all the symptoms of the novel coronavirus. The only problem, he doesn't have a fever, and he can't be tested for free at a hospital. He was told to reach out to a private lab in Sandy Springs. The bill is more than $180. He's asking for help, and he's one of many people who are struggling to be tested. The state health department tells me that per DPH and federal guidelines, people are prioritized for testing. First, healthcare workers and first responders who are critical in caring for the nation and frequently in contact with vulnerable populations. Then people who are caring for vulnerable populations such as long-term facility staff. Then people who congregate in settings where the disease can spread quickly. Only people who've been evaluated by a healthcare provider and assigned a PUI number will be referred to drive-through test sites. In Atlanta, Haley Mason, CBS 46 News.
We also have good news for anyone who is worried about paying off student loans. Today, President Trump's Coronavirus Task Force announced it is suspending all payments for at least the next 60 days.
Borrowers should contact their lenders, but we've given them very strong instructions. So we've temporarily waived all interest on federally held student loans. That's a big thing. That's going to make a lot of students very happy. And we have more to come on student loans, more good news for the students, but we'll do that at a different time.
The president also announcing standardized testing will not be enforced for K through 12 students. The president also working today with the Senate to draft a more than $1 trillion economic rescue package. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has unveiled a sweeping economic rescue plan to pump $1,200 paychecks directly to taxpayers. Republicans object and Democrats say it doesn't go far enough.
I'm Megan Packer at the Live Desk. You have an additional 3 months to file your taxes because of the coronavirus. The Treasury Department is pushing back the filing date from April 15th to July 15th. President Trump says this is to give everyone more time as we deal with this pandemic. You can file later with no interest or penalties.
However, if you have refunds or credits you would like to claim, you may still file. In other words, you can file early if you are owed money by the IRS. Other than that, we're moving it all the way out to July 15th.
The administration had announced earlier in the week that it would delay the payments, which Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said would leave $300 billion in the economy at this critical time. At the Live Desk, I'm Megan Packer.
Outrage now growing tonight over reports that at least 4 U.S. senators dumped millions of dollars worth of stocks